Hey guys, my name is Ashley and welcome back to my channel, Worth the Read, where we talk about books that are worth your time reading. How's everybody been? Quick life update. I have been reading a lot. I just haven't been shooting videos. So I'm back on my video schedule. A lot has been going on. I've been going through a metamorphosis as far as my career is concerned. I'm back in school. I don't know how I feel about that, but I don't know if I'm going to continue. I just don't know how I feel about being back in school, y'all. I graduated from college in 2008. And when I graduated, I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm over school. I'm not writing another paper. This is it. But I found myself this year in a dilemma. As you all know, I lost my job that I loved in education. But my background, my undergrad is in business marketing. But I fell into an education job. And what I want to do is event management. So I'm going back for my master's in event management, which is a total different scenario than what my work experience is and what my undergrad education is. So I'm kind of in a space where I'm trying to apply for jobs and I don't qualify. I find myself not being qualified for positions. So I decided to go back to school. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And the new job is also a lot. But I'm focused on keeping my mental health together and being as positive as I possibly can be in this quarantine life. So you guys all know what makes me happy is reading. And I have 2 books that I'm going to review today in this video. And let's get into it. The first book that I'm going to review is Black Girls Must Die Exhausted and a Baby Makes Two by Jane Allen. This is a sequel to Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, which I read and reviewed last year. I loved the first book. I think I gave the first book 4 stars. I give this one 3.5. And I'll tell you why. On my worth the read scale, 3.5 stars is considered worth the read. They may not seem like a lot of stars on a 1 to 5 star scale of rating, but it is worth the read. What I loved about the first book is it was so similar to my current life. This book's main character's name is Tabitha. She's in her 30s. She's career oriented. She's in a relationship, but it's not a strong relationship, and she's met with the dilemma of she's getting older and she doesn't have any children and she wants to have children, so she's trying to decide if she's going to freeze her eggs. I love the book so much because it was very similar to what myself and my friends, my circle around me, are going through, being single Black females, successful careers, and no partner, no relationship, no one that even resembles wanting to be in a healthy relationship, and no children. So it was like reading a book about a character who was myself, very similar to myself. So I loved the first book. In the end of the first book, we find out that Tabitha is pregnant. Now, the first book, she went through a whole, am I going to freeze my eggs? Am I going to, try to talk my boyfriend into having a baby because I'm getting older in this time? We don't know what she ends up doing at the end of the first book. We just know she's pregnant. The second book continues exactly from that ending moment of the first book. And we find out that she's pregnant. She decided to, instead of freeze her eggs, her doctor told her that she has a lot fewer eggs than they were expecting and that they should just implant them immediately. So she decides to do that. There's a whole drama to it, and I'm not going to tell you about because I want you to read the book. But she ends up pregnant, but not the way she anticipated. So she ends up returning to her old boyfriend, and they're starting a relationship again. And he's all in this time. And it's perplexing to her because less than a couple months ago, you didn't want a relationship, you didn't want children, you didn't want this and that, everything I wanted. And now that we're in this situation, you want it all and you want to marry me. And she's having issues with that. As well as continuing to have racial issues at work over her hair. Over her hair. She decides to go to stop wearing weaves. She's a news anchor. She decides to stop wearing weaves. But then her producer tells her she's getting negative comments about her hairstyle and they want her to go back to the straight hair. So she's battling that in this book. And she tends not to speak up for herself. And that's one of the things I don't like about the character. She's always tormented and battling, speaking up for herself. And I don't get that. Maybe because I'm the kind of person that I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm only going to let you run over me about that much. And then you're going to hear this much out of my mouth. And I don't care if I come off as a stereotype angry black woman. What you're not going to do is take advantage of me. Because I live my life trying my best to treat everyone equal and give everyone respect. And I demand the same. But Tabitha is always letting people do whatever they want to her. And she never speaks up. So I don't really get that. But the book follows her journey of her pregnancy. From finding out she was pregnant to delivering the baby. And it got kind of boring to me. That's why I gave it 3.5 stars. I just wanted it to get to the point. And it just took a while to get there. It was a couple chapters that I really didn't need. And you don't hear about her friends much in the book. She has a best friend that's going through a separation because her husband cheated. And she has another best friend who had a mental breakdown in the first book, who's trying to get her life back on track. I suggest you read this book, but it is a slow read. That's why I give it a 3.5 stars instead of 4. It is a slow read. I actually stopped reading it and started reading another book because I was like, I'm over this. But, I try to finish all the books I read, so I came back. 3.5 stars. Black Girls Must Die Exhausted. Again, the cover is beautiful. Beautiful. It's a matte cover. Similar to the first book. And I actually ordered this directly from the author. So I had it signed and everything. So Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, 3.5 stars. The next book I'm going to review is my first non-worth the read book of this year, which is pretty good. And that's A Place Between Breasts by Anna. Now I'm gonna just put a picture right there because the reflection is all crazy. But where do I start? I give this book 2 stars, meaning it's not worth the read. And it's not worth the read for me because of the reasons I'm going to say. Now, you may want to give it a chance. I did not give it 1 star, so it's not absolutely horrible, but it is not worth the read. I purchased this book from Book Outlet because one of my goals for my reading list this year was I want to read more books that mental health was a main topic in the book. Now, this book's main character is Grace King. And her father is a recruiter for a pharmaceutical company that is trying to find a cure for schizophrenia. Grace's mother was diagnosed as schizophrenic, and Grace is starting to show symptoms of also being schizophrenic, and she's trying to hide them from her family and friends. Now, the book starts off really well. And then you start to notice things like time jumps and gaps where how I'll read a book, and if if I am not 100% engaged in a book, I'll be reading, but my mind will start to drift. So that causes me to have to reread because I feel like I zoned out and I missed something. But I'm reading it, so I'm consciously reading, but my mind is somewhere else. So I don't absorb what I'm reading. That is my issue when I'm reading a book that is not 100% pulling my attention. So I was constantly rereading chapters because I thought I was drifting, and come to find out that it wasn't drifting. The author decided to write this book as if you are schizophrenic and you're losing time. So there's gaps in the book that are purposely put there where you're missing like major information. So you're at point A and then you end up at point D, but you skip B, C in the middle. Now I'm reading it thinking my mind is drifted and I need to reread because I'm missing some things. But by the time I got to the end of the book, that's when the author tells you she wrote it like that so you can understand what it's like to be schizophrenic. I thought that was a great idea, but it's hard to read the book because of it. Grace's father is obsessed with finding a cure for schizophrenia. Her mother leaves them as when she was young because she was schizophrenic. They don't know if the mother's still alive or she's dead somewhere. Grace is considered a I don't want to say genius, but she's very intelligent. So she works at the pharmaceutical company as an intern, and she's only in high school. She has a best friend who was pregnant, ends up pregnant in the book. But then again, there's a time jump. So I think the best friend ends up dead because you're reading the book and Grace is living with her father. And then there's a time jump and then her father's dead. You don't know when her father died, how her father died. He's just there one day, and then the next chapter she's arguing with her dead father. And the next chapter somebody's giving her condolences about her father's passing, and you're just like, when the hell did that? So I went back in the chapter because I'm thinking I had a mind fart and I was drifting, and I just skipped when I was reading that her dad passed away. But it's not. The author does not tell you any information about her dad being sick or dying. And you find out by somebody giving her condolences. The whole book is like this. So one day she's arguing with her best friend about having the child because she, again, very intelligent. Her best friend is poor and she really can't afford to have a baby in high school. And her baby's father is a player who's talking to a bunch of girls who really doesn't want children. So they have this huge argument, and then the best friend just falls off the face of the earth. So the book, she's realizing that she's having these schizophrenic episodes, and she does not want to end up like her mother. So she's contemplating suicide. And there's a character in this book that she kind of develops a small relationship with, because the book isn't long. She develops a small relationship with, and he starts to notice things about her, but it never fully flushes out because the book is over. She ends up contemplating suicide. I'm not going to tell you what she does, but what made me think her best friend was dead, she was going through a schizophrenic episode, and her best friend and her father were arguing with each other. And this is at the point where we know her father is dead. So is she confirming that her best friend is dead also? I don't know. This whole book was confusing, guys. And I just was just confused. So I kind of read the book twice to make sure that I wasn't missing things. And it was just too much. It was just too much. I understand what the author was trying to do, and what she was trying to do, she definitely accomplished. You feel like you're having schizophrenic episodes where you're losing time and you don't know what happened. But that's kind of hard to read and enjoy as a book. I didn't enjoy it. Again, I give A Place Between Breaths 2 stars. If you want to read it and see if you can handle the schizophrenic jumps and the time gaps, and I will give you a warning, it's very triggering. This book talks about mental health, suicide, death, abandonment. It has a lot of issues. For that reason, I would say if you are looking for books that cover that kind of content, I would pick it up. For me, this was just way too much. Way too much. I wanted more. I wanted the book to be longer. I wanted less of the time jumps. The author does give you a whole list of discussion questions at the end of the book. So I would say this book would be good for like high school, if you needed a book to study and talk about mental health that's not too dull, where the students are ready to be just like, I'm not reading this. But I didn't enjoy this book. 2 stars, A Place Between Breaths. And that is my review of The Place Between Breaths. 2 stars. And Black Girls Must Die Exhausted and a Baby Makes 2. 3.5 stars. I'm currently reading The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I love this book. And I'm going to do a review on this book, but I'm going to do it a little different because I really want to sit and talk about this book and discuss this book. So it'll be a longer video, and I'm kind of going to do something that I like watching on YouTube with this book. I don't know if you guys are going to like it, but I'm going to try it. And that'll be my next video. I hope everybody's enjoying their September. In Philly, the weather has seemed to change immediately. We are in fall and it is cold outside. 2020 is almost over. Thank God. We can consider this the lost year, guys. Like, we can act like 2020 never happened once we get to 2021. If you haven't registered to vote, go out and vote. No matter who you are voting for, please use your power and vote. Because if you decide not to vote, I don't want to hear nothing about what happens. I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't care. You didn't vote. Point blank and period. Everybody have a good day. Let me know in the comments below if you've read either one of these books. If you have read A Place Between Breaths, were you as confused as I was? Or is it just me? There might be a possibility. It might have just been me. But please let me know, somebody, so I know I'm not the only one that was confused about reading this book. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Do all that jazz. My next video is going to be interesting, so look forward to it. And peace out from Philly. Bye, guys.